MegaPodTastic.
Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Krazy Joe. And look who I got on one side or the other. This thing is so random. It's so random. When Skype composites this into a split screen, I never know what end the other person's going to be on because, like when I did it with Cinema Sickness, he was on that end. But then when I did it with Jacob, he was on that end. So I really don't know. You could be there. You could be there. I don't know. We'll find out.
Here's my educated guess. I'm going to point to you. You're over here.
All right.
So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Either that or I'm going to look like an insane person.
Maybe. It could happen. But look, everybody, it's Rick from Down to Movie, the Down to Movie YouTube channel, which you can find right here on this very platform upon which you are watching us.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm tired, but I'm doing all right. How about you?
The good old quarantine tiredness. I have to keep trying to remind myself what day it is.
Yeah.
I've been out of work now a little over a month, so it's crazy. There's a cat here too, by the way.
Hello.
But yeah, no, I mean the last month, it's crazy to not be on any kind of schedule, not having to necessarily get up at a certain point of time. It's thrown me off, thrown me for a loop. So.
Well, my kids are going to bed later than ever because they don't have school in the morning, so they're just staying up, which means anything I want to watch that's R-rated or even remotely kid inappropriate, I can't watch till they go to bed. So I'm going to bed later as a result. And Kira, she like clockwork, she's up at 6 a.m. every day. And, I mean, she's got crazy energy. It's like it's 6. It's like it's 6 o'clock. I'm up now. What do you want? It's 6. Yeah.
I mean, luckily RJ's to the age. So basically, what I have right now is RJ's here a week and then he's with his mom a week. So I get a week to watch non-kid appropriate stuff, and then when he's here, it's trying to find stuff that's interesting to him. He's getting a little burnout because we were watching like a movie a day, if not maybe 2 movies a day. And he's like, can we slow down on the movies? So, but, he gets up in the morning and he either plays video games or goes on his tablet or reads till I get up and, get him breakfast. But he's pretty self-sufficient.
Your cat keeps showing us her ass.
Well, I have headphones. I
named this video cat ass with Joe and Rick.
Yeah, she just wants attention. Her mom's in the bedroom, so I'm the only one out here, so I need to pay her all the attention.
Let me get Jules down here. We can get Jules' butt on camera. I'm actually surprised he's not down here, quite frankly.
It's early.
So obviously we are at my bar, so I'm going to...
Sure we are.
Grab a drink. Is it invisible? I don't know.
It is. Actually, I brought this beer here, which is called That Blue Milk.
Oh, Star Wars.
It's a blueberry peach sour ale from Maryland.
Well, I don't have a Star Wars beer, but I do have a Star Wars bottle opener. So,
there you go.
Not that you need a bottle opener for a Yingling, but come on, this is too much fun. I'm not going to not use it. So.
Greatest sound ever. Cheers, sir.
Seinfeld to you. That's how my friend Nutty Nuchas, who runs the Nutty Bites podcast, she was actually a guest on the all-new MegaPodTastic podcast a couple weeks ago.
I'm actually in the middle of listening to that episode.
Every one of her podcasts starts with the sound of a beer can opening. That's how she starts her podcast, that sound of the beer can. So, very cool.
Yes, sir. So what have you been watching? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been watching a lot of movies. I have been watching a lot of movies, but the problem is I have not been watching many new movies because, like I said, I have to keep everything family friendly. We got to watch what the kids want to watch. I've watched almost every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in the past 2 weeks because Kira is now obsessed with the Ninja Turtles. Her sister was years ago obsessed with the Ninja Turtles, and now Kira has reawakened Jackie's obsession. So we've watched the Ninja Turtles meet Batman, which was a first time watch. I'd never seen that before. But then we watched
the cartoon, right?
Yeah.
It's a little gritty, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
for Kira?
we did watch that one after Kira went to bed. So Kira,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, but we watched that one with Jackie. Then with Kira, we watched the 1990 film movie, the Secret of the Ooze.
Yep.
We watched the 2014 film with Megan Fox. So we've just been like on a Ninja Turtles roll. We've been watching things on Disney Plus, classics like The Absent-Minded Professor. We just watched, Disney princess movie last night. What one was it? God, I can't even remember what I watched last night. I can't remember.
They all blend together. Moana.
No, not Moana.
Frozen. Cinderella.
Wow, why can I not remember the movie I watched last night? Holy cow. That is not good.
Yeah, last time RJ was here, I showed him the Dark Knight trilogy for the first time and the Karate Kid movies. And that was a majority of what we watched because, I mean, right there's 7 movies. So this week we're going to try to watch...
It was Beauty and the Beast.
This week we're going to try to watch Indiana Jones because he's never seen those. So like I said, it's good he's at the age where like I don't mind showing him most PG-13 movies. Obviously, there's some stuff that I wouldn't necessarily show him. But he's a big Adam Sandler fan. I won't show him like Billy Madison yet. I feel like a lot of that would go over his head, and he wouldn't really appreciate it. But he loves Grown Ups, which I'm not really a fan of. He loves Grown Ups too. But we just showed him Mr. Deeds last night because he had never seen that.
I've never seen that one, actually. But I'm not a huge Adam Sandler fan, so.
It's one of those movies I remember not really loving it, but the humor holds up pretty good, and it's fairly, except for a few, off-color lines, it's fairly family-friendly. So.
Now, Christine and I have a great disagreement over what is appropriate for Jackie and what isn't. Jackie is 12. She's going to be 13 in November.
Okay.
And I always look at it like, well, what was I watching when I was her age? But here's the difference. Christine, a lot of the movies that my generation and Christine's generation, because Christine's only 1 year younger than me, most of the movies that the kids of our generation grew up with, I guess her parents didn't let her watch them, and she didn't see them till she was an adult. So she didn't see movies like Ghostbusters until she was an adult. Now we were kids in the 4th grade, 3rd grade playing Ghostbusters in the playground. We were obsessed with Ghostbusters. We all saw Ghostbusters. We all saw Indiana Jones. We saw all these movies. Christine, she didn't see them until she was an adult. So I'll say, well, Jackie, that's appropriate because we were watching them at her age. And she'll say, well, I wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's the disagreement we always have is I'll think something is perfectly appropriate and she won't. And like I want to show Jackie Rocky, and Christine feels it's too violent. She's like, I don't want her watching 2 guys like beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember my dad showing my sister and I Rocky Horror Picture Show, probably when I was 5 or 6. Thinking about what that movie's about now, a lot of that stuff was going over my head at 5 or 6. I was like, oh, there's a guy dressed up in like weird clothes and they're singing. Like the subject matter went over my head. But I remember my dad showing me Animal House and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Stripes. Maybe not at 5 or 6, but when I was RJ's age, not that I would show him that stuff, but it's crazy, especially when you look at like ratings. And I think you and I were having this conversation maybe in a live stream or via talk. We were talking about Airplane and how it's rated PG, but there's a ton of nudity in it. Stuff like what else?
Christine and I just watched Sheena last week with Tanya Roberts. Christine grew up loving that movie because it was a like superhero movie about a jungle girl. Christine always is all about the female heroine movies, like she loves Wonder Woman, She-Ra. So Sheena was something she grew up like loving. Well, I never saw it, and we watched it because our good friends at Mill Creek Entertainment have just recently released that on Blu-ray, and we watched it, and PG boobs galore. I'm like, what the heck, man? This movie's got a PG rating. This is insane. I even put on Facebook that we were watching it, and Heath from Serial at Midnight writes, "Hope the kids are asleep. Don't know how that got a PG." I'm like, yep, you're right.
It's wild, the rating standards. I still think about, I was 13 when Titanic came out. I know you haven't seen it, but a lot of stuff that came out, especially for a 13-year-old boy, was Kate Winslet's topless in Titanic. And it was a PG-13 movie with nudity. And that was like a big deal, because usually if it was PG-13, there was nudity, it was somebody's butt for like a frame or like something like that. But this was a full-on like, hey, Kate Winslet, how are you?
I think they say if it's non-sexual nudity, it's like for example, in what do you call it? In Sheena, Tanya Roberts gets topless and takes a bath. So she's like in the bath washing herself, or she's in the like river cleaning herself. So it's not like it's like a sex scene where she got naked. So I guess like that's kind of where they draw the distinction. But still, it's
it seems like a weird line to draw.
Right.
But what?
I don't know. Yeah, the this is a topic you and I have talked about a little bit. We haven't really talked about it in depth, but I keep saying I think the Harley Quinn movie, they made a terrible mistake giving that movie an R rating, because there's nothing in that movie that requires it to be rated R except for profanity. And it's like, if you cut the F-bombs out, that movie could have easily gotten a PG-13, and then the teenagers would have gone and seen it, and it would have just helped the box office by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have kind of different opinions on it. I felt like it should have been an R-rated movie, but my biggest issue, and maybe this is when I was going to see it, and it was one of the most anticipated movies of this year for me, I wanted it to almost be like a Deadpool level of comedy and profanity and over-the-top violence. And I almost felt like it was almost, except for, the F-bombs that felt unnecessary. Like they didn't add any humor or anything to the story. The movie could have easily been a PG-13 movie. I felt like the R rating didn't really help the movie.
I think it hindered the movie. I think it kept people away.
In box office, it definitely did. But going into it, hoping it was like a female Deadpool 2, like where Deadpool forms his, I forget the group that he forms. X-Force, right?
X-Force, yeah.
So I was hoping it would be that with the humor and everything, but for females, and it just didn't do that for me. So I was a bit let down, and then seeing the numbers is like they should have just made it PG-13, because I don't think there weren't jokes or things that happened in it that could only happen in an R-rated movie that really made me laugh or like made me say, man, I'm glad they made this R because of this scene and this scene and this scene.
I always say, like, does the content make the movie better to the point where you would say, I wish they had gone here and they didn't? Example I give is, and granted this is TV, but the Picard show, the Star Trek Picard show, they keep dropping F-bombs like crazy, and Star Trek never did that before. And I see people people are excited about it. Like I see people are like, yes, this is great. They're talking like I talk. And I'm like, but here's the thing. If you watched that same episode and they didn't say that, would you have said, this episode would have been better if they dropped an F-bomb right here? Because if you can't say that, then it's kind of gratuitous. Like, you know, if you're watching, like, I always say, if you're watching a Tarantino movie, a Scorsese movie, anything with gangsters or thing, that's how those people talk.
Yep.
So it doesn't feel in the least bit out of place. It's like, no, that character would have said that right then.
Yep.
So I don't know. That's kind of where I draw the line.
Well, and even like when you talk about like comedy movies like Knocked Up and Good Boys and Booksmart, although you're not a fan, like that's how a lot of teenagers or like college kids talk. So you expect it to be that way. If there was like a PG-13 super bad, it would have felt weird because not realistic. But if you're in a universe like Star Trek, and obviously I'm not super well versed on that, that's obviously your thing a lot more so than mine. But if you have a universe where there's not really profanity, the movies are rated PG most of the time, maybe PG-13 for violence. When you have a show and you start using F words and profanity and nudity, why are you doing that? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to appeal to? Are you just trying to get people to talk about your show or your thing because of that? It seems weird to me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my take. But then I see people who get very upset if you criticize it. Like I've gone on Star Trek Facebook groups and said this didn't need the F-bomb. And then people act like outraged that you dared to complain about it. And they said like, oh, did it make you clutch your pearls? Oh, how shocking. They say, and it's like, you know what? We're talking about a 50-year-old franchise, and in 50 years, nobody ever spoke that word. And now, not only are they using that word, they're using it weekly, sometimes twice a week. And it's like, It's not just like you threw one in here. It's been like an explosion of them. Like,
well, it's one of those things, and I've learned it recently because as you know, I recently watched all the Star Wars movies. When you go against or have opinions on a very popular, beloved franchise, and it might be against the grain, it seems to get people very upset, riled up. Like that video I did, you and I have talked about it. I have Return of the Jedi as my least favorite Star Wars movie. A lot of people have that obviously top 5 because it's part of the classic 3. And you know, it's just my opinion. It's not I'm saying the movie's bad. I didn't think any of the movies were bad. I just liked that the least out of all of them. And that video had more thumbs down on it than any other video I've done, the fastest. I've gotten more comments on that video than most every other video I do. It's like when you did your Captain Marvel video and the whole Brie Larson backlash. It's like if I did a video, and you and I have talked about this as well, that I think Wonder Woman is very overrated in my opinion. I'm sure if I did that, it would get all sorts of backlash. It would get all sorts of sexist comments, probably people in support of it, but that's not really, I don't have an issue with the premise of Wonder Woman and the female empowerment story. I think the movie has been overhyped, but I'm sure if I did a video like that, it would get a bunch of either thumbs down or thumbs up because I'm going against the grain on a popular topic. It's how I feel, and I'm not doing it just for clicks. Obviously, I haven't done the video. I could easily do that if I wanted to, but I'm not doing that video. It's just amazing what people get touchy about, like certain franchises, certain topics.
You mentioned Brie Larson. I do think there's people who just seek out videos with Brie Larson in the headline just so they can, like, the people that hate her, oh my God, do they hate her? It's like it's almost crazy the level they hate her. It's like it's like they're unhinged. You mention her name and they just start like foaming at the mouth.
And it's wild. I don't personally get it. I think Brie Larson has been in a lot of good movies. She's put forth a lot of good roles. I think it's stuff like obviously Room is the big one. I enjoyed her in Captain Marvel. It's not my favorite Marvel movie or even in the top 10, but
she'll always be Abed's girlfriend to me.
Obviously Community. I just watched Just Mercy, where she's in it, and she's not in it a lot, but she's still good. It's not like she's a terrible actress. I just don't get. There's this weird hate, and I don't know. Good old internet.
It all seems to come from that comment she made that I agree with. But when she said that, you know, basically she said, I don't care what a 40-year-old white man thinks of A Wrinkle in Time because it wasn't made for him. Well, that's true. The 40-year-old white guy is not the intended audience for that movie. And the intended audience, I did a review of Trolls 2
Mm-hmm.
because my kids wanted to see Trolls 2.
Yep.
It's fine. It's cute. There's a couple moments where I had a big laugh. Ultimately, I didn't love it. It's not something I'm going to rewatch. But guess what? My girls.
It's not geared towards you.
Exactly. But people somehow turned that into she hates white men and she doesn't want them watching her movie. And it's like, it's not what she said.
Yeah. Well,
But,
and to think about that, if you think about Elizabeth Banks and what she did after Charlie's Angels came out and flopped, how, she went on this tangent about nobody wants to see female-directed, female-led movies and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to see female heroines.
To be fair to her, though, she made those comments before the movie opened. It got publicized after the movie, but it's not like that was in reaction to it failing because it actually had not opened yet when she made those comments.
And I guess my issue with that is, have you seen Charlie's Angels remake?
I haven't. I've heard mixed things. Here's the thing. I've heard nobody say they love it. Nobody says they love it. I've heard it's garbage, and I've heard it's okay. But I've heard no super positive.
Bridget, RJ, and I watched it probably like a month ago, and it's okay. It, like you said, it's not fantastic. I didn't think it was awful. I've definitely seen a lot worse, but it was just okay. But then Elizabeth Banks goes and announces her next movie is going to be Invisible Woman. Like, why come up with something original? Like, she went and did Pitch Perfect 3, which was horrid, the worst of the franchise. Then she does Charlie's Angels, which feels unnecessary, in my opinion. Like, if they were going to do it, why not try to get Barrymore and Diaz and Lucy Liu to do it if you were going to do that movie? And then Elizabeth Banks has to force herself into her own movie, basically, as what's her name?
Isn't she one of the Bosleys? Aren't there like multiple Bosleys or something?
So she's Bosley in the movie.
But so is Patrick Stewart, right? Is it Patrick Stewart Bosley as well?
Yes. But it's just, and then she goes and announces Invisible Woman. Like, before Invisible Man was successful and a good movie, why do you need to make that? The Invisible Man 2020 is probably, in my opinion, one of the better female empowerment stories, if you will, especially when you compare it to Black Christmas, which is a whole other tangent I can go on. But like, it has the female lead who's strong and overcomes the male protagonist. Why do the Invisible Woman? Why?
Well, I don't know much about what she has planned for the Invisible Woman, but the one thing I did hear is it's going to be a comedy. So I guess it's going to have a very different tone. I don't know.
The whole thing just kind of like turned me off. And then when I saw Charlie's Angels, I went in open-minded. I was actually probably in the back of my head going to be like, this is probably, hot trash of the month material based on what I'd heard. And I didn't think it was that bad. I think I gave it like a 2 or a 2.5. It was watchable. It was serviceable, but it just felt unnecessary. Of course, I feel that way with a lot of things that come out. But
see, but then again, I'm always of the belief that all movies are unnecessary. So, I mean, I don't know.
I just love original stuff, and all the reboots and remakes have me just, I've reached my tip top. I watched The Lion King recently, and it just aggravated me even more. In an upcoming video, when I talk about it, I go off on a tangent. Like, it's just come up with original stuff. It's so refreshing to see a movie like Onward, which is an original Disney Pixar movie. It's not a sequel. It's not, and it was fantastic. You and I both loved it. We actually agreed.
Like, it's one of my favorite Pixar movies. It's absolutely, it's like my second favorite probably.
And I get they do it as money grabs, and they know, like, obviously Lion King made $1.5 billion worldwide, but like, it just,
but at the same time, the original movies, nobody's supporting them. at the box office. They come out. Nobody goes to see them. Onward, even before the theaters shut down, the theaters obviously shut down, but it had a pretty weak opening. I think they said it was like the worst opening weekend for a Pixar movie since A Bug's Life, like 20 years ago. And it's like, I don't get it. It's like you're putting this movie out there and it looks great. It had terrific trailers and people just didn't show up.
Yeah, it's tough too to judge it because it came out 2 weeks before everything shut down.
Yeah.
So everybody was already kind of in panic mode. When Bridget and I were going to theaters the first week and a half of March, theaters were much less crowded than they had been. You know, we went and saw The Hunt. The Hunt was the last movie we saw probably like 5 days before Regal shut down. And we went opening night and there were 5 people in the theater. Like at that point, people weren't going out as much. People were kind of like watching the news, staying at home, seeing what was going on. So I think that definitely hurt it. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But when there's a good original movie, I think it's successful if it's well done. I mean, if you look at a movie like, I'm trying to think, like Get Out or Us, both did very well in the box office, definitely did well in home video, original ideas. You look at this upcoming summer when Tenet was supposed to come out, I think Tenet would have made a boatload of movie and it's an original story. So I think if the story is well done and it seems appealing, but I think people to an extent are getting tired of reboots or they're getting frustrated with why original stuff isn't coming out.
I have an interesting question for you, and I think I'm going to do a whole video on this.
Okay.
Which I haven't shot yet, but it'll probably actually, if I do this video, it'll probably come out before this one. So I may have already done the video.
So can we pretend to talk about the video right now?
Yeah, let's pretend. Then watch me not shoot it. Then we're going to look like idiots. So I did a video earlier this week. Now, I was wondering, going forward, how studios are going to decide at this moment in time, how studios are going to decide what the successful movies are. Because Scoob was designed to be the first film in a theatrical cinematic franchise of Hanna-Barbera reboots. They were going to bring back the Flintstones, the Jetsons, blah, 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 all of them in this format and have them in a shared universe so they could kind of cross over. This one, the Scoob movie, features Blue Falcon, Dynamite, and Dick Dastardly as the villain in it. So Dick Dastardly is obviously the generic Hanna-Barbera villain who appears like on every Hanna-Barbera cartoon. So that was their plan, a shared cinematic Hanna-Barbera universe that would continue, I guess, like the Marvel films, but animated. Well, now it's going straight to streaming. So I guess my question is, and then let's think about Wonder Woman 84. Wonder Woman 84 got bounced to August. For now, we're assuming, as of today, assuming things go the way that it looks like they're going, theaters are supposed to reopen in July. That's the talk is Tenet will be the first big movie to come out. AMC's, they're saying they're going to open their theaters again in July for Tenet. So Wonder Woman 84 comes out. Let's say this movie comes out. Let's say there's a great interest in the movie. Let's say if COVID-19 had not have happened, Wonder Woman 84 makes $1 billion, which is possible because Joker and Aquaman both made $1 billion. But now it's coming out right when the theaters are reopening, like a month after the theaters reopening. And this movie could bomb at the box office. And my question is, how does the studio know if it bombed due to lack of interest from the audience or because audiences were too scared to buy a ticket because they were nervous about the virus? How do you know if a Wonder Woman 3 or a Scoob 2 is warranted in this environment?
All right. So anything that comes out this year, I think has to have basically an asterisk attached to it. And I like I said, I've been trying to catch up on your podcast. I'm almost through episode 6. and I know you and Jacob have had the conversation a lot, that whatever movie is first to open up when all this stuff ends is going to make a buttload of money. I don't think that's true. I think what you're going to see is, yes, there will be a certain demographic that is just like, we can get out of the house, we're going to go see this movie. But there's still going to be people who are going to tiptoe about getting into everyday life the way it was in February of this year in the US. I don't know when we'll see that again. I don't think we see that this year. So with that being said, there has to be an asterisk on it. And obviously Wonder Woman 84 is going to be successful. They could have released it on streaming. They could have tied it into HBO Max. They could have done multiple things with it. But that movie, just like Tenet, where Christopher Nolan is a staunch, like, this needs to be seen on the big screen. It needs to be seen in IMAX. It needs to be seen in theaters. There's certain things like Trolls World Tour, Scoob, in my opinion, it's one of those things where it's the perfect movie if you're not leaving the house and you have 2 kids, for 4 people to sit at home and watch a movie that's brand new for $20. It's a fantastic bargain. When they were first talking about theatrical experiences at home, they were throwing around like $40 or $50 for a 2-day window. That was a big discussion, like $50. And I was like, there's with Bridget and I, there's no movie that I'd pay $50 to see.
And Warner Brothers up to the deal too, because with Universal, with Trolls and Invisible Man and The Hunt, they were only offering $20 for a rental. Yep. But Warner Brothers is like, we'll do you one better for $5 extra bucks. You keep it.
Yeah. So I think it's tough because I have heard different things about Trolls World Tour, but my big curiosity is what kind of money. It's been out for what, 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
I've heard rumors that it made $30 million the first day. In my opinion, that's going to be a success because you figure $30 million the first day, probably made $50 million the first weekend, if that number's real, because people, like, you have 2 girls, I would assume that movie might possibly get rented in a typical household more than once. Where
I can see that.
If you took your girls to go see in the movies, you're only going once because you're going to drop, $40 or $50. So to spend $20 and have the movie for 2 days, they're going to watch the movie multiple times. It's also going to be something if it comes to home video or when you buy it on streaming, you might be more inclined to pay the $20 to own it, because it's like when Frozen came out. Obviously, I had a son, so Frozen wasn't as big of a deal. But all the people I know with daughters, when Frozen came out, they were rewatching, and then all the merchandise. So certain things I think will be more successful than others, especially kids-friendly stuff. I think Scoob will be successful because for $25 you can own it. You can watch it with your family. Even if people don't realize that for $5 more you can own it, for $20 to rent it, people are going to do that in droves because they're most likely still going to be in-house. But when theaters open back up, how many people are going to rush out to go sit in a room with 300 other people? The rules that are going to be in place are going to obviously change a lot of things. I've heard rumors that when theaters open up, there will be a mandatory 2-seat gap. So if Bridget and I went to the movies, we'd have to sit 2 seats apart.
But keep in mind, if a movie theater with 10 screens opens up, and the only movie that opened is Tenet, you could have Tenet on 10 screens and have people.
Yeah, but that's going to be the equivalent of having it on 3 screens, which it normally does. And how many people are going to go see? It's one of those things. I can't tell you, let's say, the last time I went to a movie and it was sold out or close to sold out was about a year ago when Endgame came out. Mind you, I didn't go see Star Wars in theaters. But so for a theater to have 10 screens and show Tenet on 10 screens, it's going to be the equivalent to showing on 3 screens. Tenet wasn't going to sell out on 3 screens. It might sell out one of those screenings, but it's highly unlikely it would sell out 3 screens.
See, I think whatever opens is going to do really well because Tenet. Anyone, okay, there's going to be people who don't want to go see a movie. There's going to be people who are like, I'm not comfortable sitting in a theater yet.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyone who does want to go see a movie is going to go see Tenet.
Absolutely.
Even if they did not intend to see Tenet. Even people who are like, well, that movie didn't really interest me. If they love going to the movies and they're dying to get back into a movie theater, they'll be like, screw it, I'll sit through Tenet. Let's go check this out.
But the problem with Tenet, though, that a movie like Wonder Woman or Mulan have going for it is families aren't going to go see Tenet.
That's Tenet, true, but Mulan opens like a week after Tenet. That's going to do really well.
Mulan will make, in my opinion, Mulan might be more successful coming out in July after this than it would have in March. I think Mulan was going to be more successful overseas regardless. Obviously, I think if you look at numbers for like Lion King and especially Aladdin, and you compare domestic to overseas, the overseas numbers for the Disney remakes have been gangbusters. And they've been good, don't get me wrong, they've been good in the US as well. But that's because that's some of the only family content that's coming out. You know, I think if you released a movie like Soul in July or August, it would do very well because kids are going to want to get out of the house. Like, RJ's here for a week, and by Thursday, I get him Friday night. He goes home Friday night. By Wednesday night, Thursday, he's over it. Like, he wants to go outside. He's been playing Legos or board games or reading or going on his tablet. Like, kids are going to want to get out. And family movies are going to be the most successful things, in my opinion, when everything gets lifted. Did you hear what AMC has come out and said recently, though?
I heard that they were saying that they were expecting. They said they weren't going to reopen until there were movies to show, yep, which is supposedly July because of Tenet and Mulan.
And it has to be multiple movies. They've also come out and said in articles they won't open like an AMC 8 and show 8 screens of Tenet. There has to be at least 2 movies for them to show. So I think AMC's in a lot of trouble. Obviously, articles have come out that AMC's in a lot of trouble.
They are. I think they're going to be okay, though, because this is what we were talking about. You mentioned Tenet and Wonder Woman, that the filmmakers want them on the big screen. That's true. But also, one thing we got to keep in mind is the studios, they need the theaters. The studios, yep, absolutely need the theaters. It's a partnership. Absolutely. Because without the theaters, they're going to lose money.
Yep.
So I think a lot of it comes down to, and I think that the studios are going to help AMC. The studios, I believe, are going to bail out AMC because if AMC, the biggest theater chain in the world, goes under, then Disney loses money.
Yeah, everybody loses money.
But the other thing is, I think a lot of these movies like Tenet and Wonder Woman, the studios can't take them to streaming because they realize, well, we got to take some of these things to streaming. We got like Scoob we can do Trolls. But some of these bigger movies need to wait because the theaters need them. When the theaters reopen, they absolutely need content and they need movies that are potential blockbusters, or else nobody's going to go to the theater. So yeah, I think
there needs to be fuel for people to go. I personally think that you're going to see more theater normalcy once your November, December releases hit.
Which, oddly enough, is when they're saying the virus is going to reemerge. So we'll see things getting back to normal right when things are getting worse. So
yeah,
go.
So I don't know. I like seeing stuff like The Lovebirds coming to Netflix, a movie that I would have probably gone to see because I have Regal Unlimited, but not a movie I'm excited about, but something to see. I think My Spy with Batista and that little girl is coming to Amazon Prime.
Yes, and my daughter Jackie really wants to see that. Because that movie's already been held back over a year.
Yeah.
And when those trailers were playing last year, Jackie
Leo was supposed to come out like a week or two after Stuber, and I think they realized it would be a Batista saturation, even though it's two totally different movies. You got a PG-13 family kids movie and a hard R action comedy. But
by the way, I tried to watch Stuber because I know you recommended it. I don't have it, but I went to see if it was on any of the streaming services, and I looked at all of them. And Hulu said I could watch it if I had the HBO add-on. So that told me, oh, well, it must be available on HBO. If I can watch it on Hulu with the HBO add-on, it must be on HBO. So then I went to my HBO app and looked for it. It's not there.
I think it might be coming to HBO soon.
Maybe.
Possibly. I mean, I have it physically, but I thought it was really enjoyable. I thought it was a fun R-rated action comedy. I think him and Kumail were really good together on screen.
What studio put that out?
Let me see. 20th Century Fox.
Oh, so do you have a digital copy on Movies Anywhere?
I don't.
I was going to say, because they got that new, you heard about that beta thing? The share, you could share a movie?
Like 3 movies a month?
Yeah, I was going to say, you could share it with me. I could watch it on Movies Anywhere. But
Jacob might have it.
I'll ask him.
So, I think it's I think it's fun. I could see that coming to Hulu at some point because it's 20th Century Fox.
That would make sense.
But yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird time. I don't think I would rush back to the movies as much as I want to see Tenet. Like, my most anticipated movie of the year was Tenet. I don't know. Getting back out there and trying to live a normal life, I don't think will be easy.
Well, Wonder Woman 84 is my most anticipated of the year. So nothing's keeping me away. If I have to take a day off of work and go to the first show of the day on like a Tuesday or something when the place is going to be empty, I will do that. But I'll try to figure out like when are the least amount of people going to be in this theater.
It'll be interesting. I can't wait to not be, I know you haven't left the house in almost a month now?
Yeah, except for my car drives. I go out once a week in my car just to keep the battery going. And I'll tell you, it's invigorating. Just driving my car, never getting out is invigorating. And I see people driving their car with masks on, and I'm like, isn't that overkill? You're alone in your car.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. If you're in the store, yes, wear a mask, but you're alone in your car. There's nobody in the car with you. Is it a rental car? Maybe it's a rental car. Maybe you didn't know where it came from.
I mean, I get to leave usually twice a week. Well, not get to leave. I can leave if I wanted to, but obviously it's not what we're supposed to do. I leave twice a week. I go to take RJ or pick up RJ. And then usually I combine that with a trip to Target if we need groceries. So we're already out. We might as well knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. Only if I don't have RJ. If I have RJ, I haven't brought him in any stores. And then I've been doing eBay because I had a ton of stuff that I bought to flip that I've been basically playing catch up on. And because everybody's stuck at home, I've been selling a ton of stuff on eBay. So I go to the post office once or twice a week. But it's literally, I wear my mask, everything's already printed out. I get my receipt and I leave. And there's 6-foot gaps in there. I don't touch the doors. As soon as I get in the car, even though I didn't touch anything, I hand sanitize. But that's it. That's the extent. Like, Bridget goes food shopping usually if we're not going to Target. So I haven't been out and about recently just to go out and about. I go out with a purpose and I come right back home.
Well, we have been going for 45 minutes now.
Okay.
So I will let you go. Yeah, thank you for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Long time coming. I got to try to get together with you and join you and Jacob for a podcast.
Yeah, that would be great. So
you just do it so late.
Yeah, well, it's all scheduling. It's like I wasn't doing podcasts for a long time. I wasn't doing
Yeah.
podcasts, and part of it was scheduling. Because I got to give so much of my time to my family, and I'm like, well,
Yep.
if I'm doing
Nice.
a live stream one night a week, and then suddenly another night of the week, I'm like, well, now I got to do a podcast. That's just taking time away from the family. So I'm like, if I knock it all out on one night, if I do them both on the same night, then I'm more productive, and my family gets to see me. So
That's why I've been trying to do my live streams on my channel Tuesday and Thursdays in the morning. This week will be tougher because RJ's here, but when RJ's not here, I just sit out in the living room for an hour. I do a live stream to interact with people. When RJ's here, it's tougher because usually he does his schoolwork from 10 to 12, and I go live at like 10 or 10:30. But I'm gonna try to figure something out. Maybe like have him play video games in his room like he's doing now, and go live a little earlier, and then have him do schoolwork after. But maybe next week I can do the podcast with you and Jacob if that works, because RJ won't be here.
well, I think the plan was that we weren't going to do one. We were going to do one this coming Thursday, but not the following, because I was going to drop an old one. I don't know. Maybe
Okay.
I could flip it. Maybe, but
Well,
I don't know. We'll see. I'll figure it out.
let me know.
All right.
Next week might work if it works. So.
All right. Well, anyway, everyone, if you look down below, you can find all the links of where you can find Rick. Yeah, down there. Do you see him? Yeah. Oh. Down to movie. So right here.
And I've been living your credo. I've been wearing my pajamas except for when I leave the house.
Me too. In fact, I keep wearing them when I leave the
Yeah.
house because I'm just in my car. So who knows? Who
Yeah,
cares?
I keep on wearing them.
All right, everybody, be like Rick. Keep wearing those pajamas. And by the way, who's down to movie?
Oh.
Keep wearing those pajamas
with the plastic feet.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Tell everyone you meet
Keep wearing those pajamas.
with the back door flap.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Don't open, it's a trap.
Oh no!
It's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander Adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas.
Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas.
And now we're having fun.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
And now the song is done.